The Titanic hit the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. By 2:20 a.m., she was gone. But here's the question nobody asks. What if you didn't make it to a lifeboat? What if you were still inside when she went under? Could you survive? And here's something nobody talks about. For a brief, terrifying moment, as that ship descended into the dark, the people still trapped inside were the deepest living humans on Earth. The moment the Titanic slipped beneath the surface, she didn't just sink, she fell. Nearly 2.4 miles, 12,500 feet straight down to the ocean floor. At that depth, the water pressure hits over 6,000 pounds per square inch. Let me put that in perspective. A scuba tank is filled to around 3,000 pounds per square inch. So much pressure that if you poked a hole in one, it'd shoot off like a rocket. Now double that. That's the Titanic's resting depth. At 6,000 pounds per square inch, water doesn't leak into a scuba tank, it crushes the tank inward. And remember, in 2023, the OceanGate Titan submersible, a vessel purpose-built to reach the Titanic, imploded instantly at that depth. It was gone in milliseconds. 5 people, no warning. The Titanic's hull was never designed to resist external pressure at all. It was built to keep water out at sea level, not to survive the deep ocean crushing in from every side. But here's the wild part. The ship sank in under 20 minutes once flooding began. For anyone still trapped inside, those first few minutes were a desperate race between the rising water and whatever air was left. Some compartments flooded instantly, some sealed. Some created tiny pockets of trapped air. If you were in exactly the right room at exactly the right moment, you might have had a few minutes to breathe. But breathe is all you do, because something far more dangerous was already coming for you. Here's the thing most people get completely wrong about that night. It wasn't the pressure that killed most people. It wasn't drowning. It was the cold. The North Atlantic in April, 28 degrees Fahrenheit / -2 degrees Celsius, just below freezing. Cardiac arrest from cold shock can hit in under 3 minutes. Full hypothermia sets in within 15. Survivor accounts describe people in the water going silent almost immediately. Not screaming, not fighting, just gone. The 1,500 people in the water that night, most were dead within minutes, not hours. But one man defied every single one of those odds. Charles Jockin, the ship's chief baker. As the Titanic was going down, Jockin reportedly made a choice. He went back to his cabin and he drank a lot. Then he rode the stern railing as it rose into the air and stepped off the ship into the Atlantic as she went under. He treaded water for over 2 hours before being pulled onto an overturned lifeboat at -2 degrees Celsius. The ocean that night had its own rules, and Charles Jockin apparently hadn't read them. Now, what about surviving inside the ship itself? History has one jaw-dropping example. In 2013, a Nigerian cook named Harrison Okene survived 60 hours inside a capsized ship 100 feet underwater. He found a pocket of trapped air in the bathroom, treaded water in total darkness, survived on 1 can of Coke, until divers found him and nearly had a heart attack when a hand reached out of the black water and grabbed them. That's real. So, biologically, if the temperature were warmer, if the depth were shallower, if air pockets held, survival inside a sinking ship is possible. The Titanic's math, however, was a completely different beast. The MV Jaskin 4 went down at 100 feet, the Titanic 12,500. Okene's ship sat at around 44 pounds per square inch, the Titanic at over 6,000. That's enough pressure to crush a purpose-built submarine. The water where Okene survived was a warm 82 degrees Fahrenheit. The Atlantic that night was 28 degrees Fahrenheit. And while divers reached Okene in 60 hours, the nearest rescue ship to the Titanic was days away. Harrison Okene had a miracle. The Titanic didn't allow for one. So could you survive inside the Titanic after it sank? For a moment, maybe, but long-term survival was never possible. The ship descended miles beneath the Atlantic, far beyond the reach of divers, rescue ships, or breathable air. By the time the wreck finally settled on the ocean floor, every environment that supports human life was gone.